discusses the different kinds of foods and the part they play in the making of health and disease. It is my purpose in this chapter to lay down a few general principles to aid you in the practical problem of selecting the best diet for yourself. But it must be made clear at the outset that there can be no hard and fast rule. All human bodies are more or less alike, but on the other hand, all are more or less different. Modern civilization has given very few bodies the chance to be perfect. Nearly all have some weakness, some abnormality, and need some special modification in diet to fit their particular problem. The ideal in each case would be a complete study of the individual system. Someday, no doubt, medical science will analyze the digestive juices and the gland secretions of the bloodstream of every human being and say, you need a certain percentage of starch and a certain percentage of protein. You need such and such proportion of phosphorus and iron. You should avoid certain acids, and so on. But at present, we are devoting our science to the task of killing and maiming other people instead of enabling ourselves to live in health and happiness. Human food contains three elements: proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. The proteins are the body-building material, and the foods which are rich in proteins are lean meat, the white of eggs, milk and cheese, nuts, peas, and beans. A certain amount of this kind of food is needed by the body. If it is missing, the body will gradually waste away. If too much of it is taken, the body can turn it into energy-making material, but this is a wasteful process, and the best evidence appears to be that it is a strain upon the system. Experiments conducted by Professor Chittenden of Yale have proven conclusively that men can live and maintain body weight upon much less protein food than previously dietetic standards have indicated. The fats are found in fat meats and dairy products, and in nuts, olives, and vegetable oils. The body is prepared to digest and assimilate a certain amount of fat. No one knows how much. I have found in my own case that I require a great deal less than people ordinarily eat. I have for many years maintained good health upon a diet containing no more fat than one gets with lean meat once or twice a day. I never use butter or olive oil, nor any fat in cooking. My reason for this is that fats are the most highly concentrated form of food, and the easiest upon which to overeat. Excess of fat is a cause, not merely of obesity, but also boils and pimples and pasty complexion, and other signs of a clogged bloodstream. The third variety of food is the carbohydrates, and of these there are two kinds: starches and sugars. Starch is the white material of the grains and tubers, the principal food element of bread and cereals, rice, potatoes, bananas, and many prepared substances such as cornstarch, tapioca, farina, and macaroni. So vital are they, and so fatal to health is their absence, that it is far better for you to eat nothing at all than to eat improperly balanced foods, or foods which are deficient in the organic salts. I am going to try not to be dogmatic in this book, and not to say things that I do not know. I confess to innumerable uncertainties about the subject of diet, but one thing I think I do know, and that is that human beings should eliminate absolutely from their food those modern artificial products which look so nice and are so easy to handle and are put up in packages with pretty labels and have been in some way artificially treated to remove the wastes and impurities, including the vital mineral salts. Any of these substances will kill a chicken in a couple of weeks, and the only reason they take a longer time to kill you is because you mix them with other kinds of foods. But to the extent that you eat them, your diet is deficient. And do not console yourself with the idea that the mineral elements will be made up from the other foods, because you don't know that, and nobody else knows it. Nobody knows just how much of any particular organic salt the body needs. All we know is that the primitive races which ate natural foods enjoyed vigorous health. There are many kinds of sugar, found in the sugar cane and the beet and in all fruits. Sugar may also be made from any form of starch. This is glucose, which is put up in cans and sold as an imitation of maple syrup. The ordinary granulated and powdered sugar is made by taking from the natural syrup every trace of mineral elements. So I have no hesitation in saying that the ordinary cane sugar and beet sugar of our breakfast tables and our confectionery stores is not a food, but a slow poison. You need sugar. You need a considerable quantity of it every day. Nature provides this sugar in combination with the organic salts and also with the precious vitamins, whose function in the body we are only beginning to investigate. All the mineral substances which give the color and flavor to oranges, apples, peaches, grapes, figs, prunes, raisins, all these you take out when you make sugar. For ages, Japanese peasants have lived on rice with a little dried fish. Quite recently, there began to spread throughout Japan a mysterious disease known as beriberi. It was especially prevalent in the army, and so the scientists of Japan set out to discover the cause. And it proved to be the modern practice of polishing rice, which takes off the outer coating of the grain. Rice is one of the most wholesome of foods if it is eaten in the natural state. The whole modern art of cooking is largely a perversion, a product of idleness, vanity, and sensuality. It is one of the monstrous growths consequent upon our system of class exploitation. If I tell you what I eat, please do not get the impression that I am advising you to eat these same things. My diet consists of the foods which I have found, by long experience, agree with me. There are many other foods which are just as wholesome, but which I do not eat, either because they don't happen to agree with me, or because I don't care for them so much. I am fond of fruit, and eat more of that than anything else. It is not a cheap article of diet, but you can save a good deal if you buy it in quantities, as I do. For breakfast, I eat a slice of whole wheat bread, 3 good-sized apples, stewed, and 8 or 10 dates. It takes practically no time to prepare this breakfast. The bread has to be baked, of course, but this is done wholesale. We buy 4 loaves at a time, and it is just as good at the end of a couple of weeks as when we buy it. At this lunch, which is my square meal, I eat a large slice of beefsteak, say 1/3 of a pound. Jack London used to say that the only man who could cook a beefsteak was the fireman of a railway locomotive because he had a hot, clean shovel. The best imitation you can get is a hot, clean frying pan. And when you are sure that it is hot, let it get hotter. The whole secret of cooking meat is to keep the juices inside, and to do that, you must cook it quickly. When you slap it down on a hot frying pan, the meat is seared and the juices stay inside. And if you do not turn it over until it is almost ready to burn, you don't need to cook it very long on the other side. That is the one secret of cooking worth knowing. It doesn't cost anything and saves time instead of wasting it. As I have never found anybody else capable of learning it, I reserve the cooking of the beefsteaks as one of my family duties. To continue the lunch, a slice of whole wheat bread and a large quantity of some fresh salad, such as celery or lettuce and tomatoes, without dressing. For a part of this may be substituted a vegetable, 1 or 2 beets or turnips, cooked during a previous meal and warmed up in a couple of minutes. and we do not throw away the tops of turnips and beets and celery. We put them on and cook them, and they serve for the next day's meal. If you would eat a large quantity of such greens once a day, you would escape many of the ills that your flesh is at present heir to. Finally, for dessert, an orange and a small handful of raisins, or 1 or 2 figs. The evening meal will be the same as breakfast, except once in a while when I am especially hungry and want some meat. I am writing this in the winter season, so the fruits suggested are those available in the winter. The menu will be varied with every kind of fruit at the season when it is cheapest and most easily obtained. The beefsteak will appear at about 3 meals out of 4. Occasionally, it will be replaced by the lean meat of pork or mutton or by fish. The bread may be replaced by rice or boiled potatoes, either white or sweet, and occasionally by graham crackers. I know that these contain a little fat and sugar, but I try not to be fanatical about my diet, and the rules I suggest do not carry the death penalty. The main thing is to arrange one's home diet on sound lines, and to learn to enjoy the simple and wholesome foods, of which there is a great variety obtainable, and at prices possible to all but the wretchedly poor. In conclusion, since everybody likes to have a feast now and then, I specify that my diet regimen allows for holidays. Assuming that I am your guest for a day and that you wish to blow me, regardless of expense, here will be the menu. Breakfast: some graham crackers, a bunch of raisins, a can of sliced pineapple in the winter, or a big chunk of watermelon in the summer. Dinner or lunch: roast pork, a baked apple, a baked sweet potato, and some spinach. Supper: lettuce, dates, and a dish of popcorn flavored with peanut butter. Try this next Christmas. P.S. Discussing the importance of certain organic salts to the body, Dr. Quick states, animals have been fed as an experiment on foods deficient in phosphorus. For a while they seemed to do well, and then they collapsed. It takes only 3 months of a ration without phosphorus to wreck an animal. Individual creatures were killed after a month of this diet, and it was found that the flesh was taking the phosphate, for the phosphorus exists in the body in that form, from the bones to supply its need. In other words, the body was eating its own bones. When this process had robbed the bones to the limit, the collapse came, and the animal could never recover.